Dave Weigan, 10-minute daily reality check. Time for a dose of John Keegan. What's up, John?
What's up, man? So great to be back on. It's been a long time.
It's been like a year.
It's been a year, hasn't it?
Has it been a year?
I mean, I don't know what it's been. It's weird because we haven't seen each other in over a year, but as soon as we got together, it was like as if we just were hanging out 2 seconds ago.
God, it's been a year. That's not good.
I mean, I know you usually come to New York, and I was going to LA a lot, and both of us, for some reason, haven't been in either place.
This is the first time in New York since 2017. I've never gone. I almost went the entire year without being here.
I mean, your whole life, right?
Oh, yeah.
What's up?
I don't know.
I mean, I like LA. I want to go, but I just haven't had a reason, I normally have reasons.
I think I was punishing myself this year.
Why?
Well,
you had a lot of big changes.
I had a lot of big changes, but I think I punished myself in seeing if I could stay in LA for a full year.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It was like jail.
Well, I mean, you haven't really traveled at all, huh?
No, I went to Austin over the summer.
Okay.
For like 4 or 5 days, and that was about it.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
it was a
unbelievable.
non-travel year for me.
You put an embargo on yourself?
I put an embargo on traveling.
Embargo.
I did.
Yeah.
I had a travel embargo.
All right. Are
Yeah,
you ready
really
to lift it?
I'm
We need
ready to
go.
lift
I want
it.
to go to Bali. Let's do it. You ready?
I'm always ready to go somewhere,
Yeah.
but I definitely put an embargo.
Bali in February. How's that?
Oh, I wish I could go to Bali in February.
Come on.
Yeah, I got dadhood, man.
Yeah, you got real responsibility.
I got real responsibilities.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, let's talk about
something that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, let's talk about what we were talking about.
It's a statement.
A
Okay?
statement?
Statement, okay? To live in the past
To live in the past
is to die
is to die
in the present.
in the present. To live in the past.
Yep. So how many people are in the present moment thinking about triggers from the past?
Wow, I would say most people, most of the time, and it's amazing. I mean, when we're saying it, it's like, okay, no shit, right? Because it's like we all kind of know that nowadays. Anybody probably who's listening to your podcast is self-aware and have heard that. But the reality is when you pay attention to the past and you obsess about the future, the worry about the future, or you focus on some event that happened in the past, and then regret seeps in. Regret's the worst thing you can ever feel. When that seeps in, or when you sort of say, like, for example, you had a relationship that went bad, when you say it went bad, you had a relationship that is no longer or has changed from what you had wanted it to be, like you were in love with someone and you were living together and then you broke up, and then it's like, oh my God, you live in regret of the things you did, you could have done different. Or you say, oh, it was such a waste. A lot of times I notice women especially will say, oh, it was such a waste that he wasn't the one. We'll find the one. And then there's a story that starts to get carved. Like, it's like a jadedness that occurs when you look at life like, it didn't work out in the past with that person. It was just bad luck. This bad thing happened. The one is coming. Instead of, wow, that was part of my journey, part of my evolution. I'm growing. I'm learning. I'm getting stronger. Me and that person did have something beautiful for a while, and then we just weren't. The reality is we just stopped connecting on some level, and then we started finding each other's faults. And then I learned a lot from that, and I'm going to grow from that. And that's a better way to look at it. Whereas a lot of people, they look at the past like it was a waste of time.
Failed marriage.
It was failed marriage. It was a failed relationship.
Business. It was a failed...
He's a bad person. She's a bitch. It's like the whole thing got negated. Instead of, wow, we had a journey. There was some pain. There was a lot of joy. There was some pain. And now I'm here. I'm here right now. Yeah. So that's, just level one of what you're talking about. We could go on this could be a 10-hour daily podcast.
Well, there's a lot of levels to it, and it does start always the same thing. Not this thing again. I'm not going to get caught in this time.
Yeah.
It's that whole... and it's funny. It's like our society actually programs you to do it, because when you go to the doctor, you go anywhere and you fill out the form, right? Married, single, divorced, right? And immediately it re-engages your brain.
Why is that in
their fucking business? But it engages your brain to think about the failed marriage. People will always say that. I had a failed marriage. Your marriage didn't fail. Your business didn't fail. Nothing fails. There's no failure. You don't have a daily dose of failure every single day. What you have is the perception around it. You didn't learn. You didn't grow. You didn't absorb, and you didn't heal.
And that perception is, Abraham Lincoln said, most people make up their mind to be as happy as they want to be. And that's like, pretty enlightening, because it's like to remind yourself that your ability to focus on something is your ability to create a reality. And we are, and this is just awesomely true or painfully true, depending on how you want to look at it. We are the creators of our own reality, and it all has to do with our powers of focus and focusing on all that's awesome about ourselves, all that's beautiful about ourselves, all that's right about right now in this moment. What is right about it? And all that, and focusing on all that's right about the people in your life and what's amazing about them, and focusing on all that's beautiful about what's coming ahead is your ability to create the most amazing life of all time.
Well, I love how you say that because it's so true. Because a lot of people use that term. That's just the way that I am. Well, really, this is just the way you are. Are you really happy being just the way you are? Because anybody who uses that terminology, they're not growing, they're not evolving, they're staying stagnant in whatever experience they had in the past. Because if you say this is just the way I am, you're basically telling the world, the universe, and other people that, hey, because of my past experiences in this part of my life, this is just the way that I am, and nothing's going to change me. And the fact is, if nothing is going to change you, then you're never evolving and you're stuck in something that happened to you before, or you're being triggered by things that happened to you before. You get like, it's almost like deer in the headlight syndrome. All of a sudden you're like, oh man, the last time I bought a pair of sneakers like that, they hurt my feet. The last time I went to that restaurant, I had a stomach ache. The last time I went to that city on that airline, I hate American Airlines. They lost my luggage. It's like a lot of people have that story.
They just go into that.
Yeah, they get in, or I hate this person, or I hate this thing because of an experience they had. Everybody, and that's almost like when you meet somebody like that, there's no forgiveness there. It's like, when people tell me, oh, I hate American Airlines, they're the worst. Well, do you know them personally? Do you know the guy who runs it? I mean, because I've had great experiences on it. I've had some mediocre experiences on it, and that's life. Nothing can be consistently the same all the time. But I don't blame, and you have that because they don't take accountability for it because everything happened to them in the past. They want to blame people for the fucking experiences they had, and then they want to stay grounded in the negativity.
And the thing is that is that kind of complaining or negating and complaining, that's an energy field you're creating around you. And this can't be said enough to any one of us, and we can't be reminded enough of this, is that we are energy. And as you're complaining and as you're negating and we are vibrations, we are the vibe. Good vibes only. Good vibes only is actually, as basic as it sounds, it's one of the greatest slogans ever made. If you can keep finding your way to good vibes only, you will be living a great life right now and keep walking into an even greater one. Good vibes only. So when you find yourself complaining about anything at all, just cut it, man, and start challenging yourself to pay attention to what's great about right now. Sometimes it's really easy, and sometimes it's really hard. But I want to give you a great book recommendation. Can I do that?
Yeah, give it to him.
Well, there's a guy named Damien Echols. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
Well, there was
cool name.
There's a famous book, a famous documentary about him in the 90s called Paradise Lost. And Paradise Lost was about these 3 teenagers in West Memphis, Arkansas, who were accused of murdering 3 or 8-year-old kids in this backwoods town in Arkansas, and they called them witches and devil worshippers, and it was like crazy. And then it was very clear from the movie that these guys didn't do it, but they made them evil, and this Damien Echols was the leader of it. And this guy, who probably, if that didn't happen, would have been a rock star. He had that energy, like he definitely had a specialness about him that people would be scared of. And so he was on death row for 18 years for crimes he didn't commit, for the worst kind of crimes, killing kids. In 10 years of that, he was in solitary confinement, all by himself. He wrote a book recently. So he wrote his first book's called, he did get out. They still wouldn't say he was innocent, but he got out because so many people in the world kept going for it, including one of my idols, Eddie Vedder of Pearl Jam, actually helped him get out of prison finally after 18 years. So he got out. He wrote a book called Life After Death, which is his story. And then he met his wife while he was in there. She was a lawyer here in Brooklyn. And they're married. I see him here I've met him many, many times. I've been very fortunate to keep running into him. And cool guy, he's a really sweet person. And then he just recently wrote a book. And this was a book, I always said, I want to know that guy's secrets. This guy was in a cell the size of a small New York bathroom for 10 years by himself with with no nutrition, no food, no human contact, no love. Any human contact he had was negative, surrounded by the world's most, all people sentenced to die. And he walked out of there a free man. And now has written 3 best-selling books. So this book's called High Magic with a K, and he talks about it's called The Guide to the Spiritual Practices that got him through being on death row, and you would even say got him off of death row. And it's amazingly powerful. I've listened to a lot of law of attraction stuff, a lot of spiritual stuff, and he literally says he was surrounded by this. The guards would beat him, rape him. They almost beat him to death several times because nobody cares about a guy in a hole in the middle of Arkansas, right? So, but he lived. He said he would, and he kept focusing on seeing himself as a free man, imagining himself walking down the street, being in the sun. He kept focusing on the good. He kept finding it. He kept finding these extremely powerful visualization tools to help him literally walk off of death row a free man. And it's amazing, and I've been listening to it, learning from it. It's really
I want to listen
most
to it.
powerful
Do you listen
spiritual
to it, or are you reading it?
I got it on Audible. It's called High Magic with a K.
I want to listen to it.
It's the most powerful, and it's not a politically correct thing. Like the word magic is even a little scary. And when he talks about certain, like Aleister Crowley from the 1900s used to be called the most evil man, because basically they're teaching that you are God, that you have the God force. Imagine teaching this. Aleister Crowley was a guy who was around in the 1900s, and they called him the most evil man of the time because, he went directly against a controlling church that was trying to, not give you personal power. You listen to us, and so this is really all about personal power. But imagine a guy was able to free himself from those confines, those chains, and he said, and this is what really got me. Everybody he knew in there walked straight down one way, and they walked to an electric chair and were killed. He never saw anyone walk a death row. He didn't, so he had no evidence that he would ever walk out of there, but he kept focusing on that he would walk out of there, and he kept focusing on the positive, and he kept finding that. And he walks out, and he is the sweetest, nicest guy. He is an incredible human being, and imagine what he could be doing.
We should interview him on the podcast.
I'd love to. Yeah, he's a beautiful man. Yeah.
I'm going to reach out to him.
Yeah, he's worth it.
I mean, that's it's so true, because if you think about it, don't focus on what you do want, don't focus on what you don't want, focus on what you do want, but it goes deeper, even during the hardest time, because everything in life is perseverance, and everything is a challenge. And the fact is, during those challenge periods, the universe is testing, well, how badly do you want this, right? Because if it made it easy, everybody can be what they want to be. Yeah. So it's working towards it and never leaving that vision, man. We're going to leave it at that. So we'll see you tomorrow, man. John's going to be on a bunch of podcasts in a row, so get used to getting these deep conversations. The rest of you, tag it, love it, like it. David Wygant, John Keegan.
See you guys.